Those are some randy texts that seem to have one Liberal cabinet minister in more hot water. Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me are Lorrie Goldstein and Brian Lilley. Okay, Lorrie, this is going to take some backstory. We have to remind our viewers the story and the history of this drama between Liberal cabinet minister Randy Boissonnault and his former business partner, Stephen Anderson, where now Boissonnault is being called for the third time to testify at the Parliament's Ethics Committee on some questionable business practices. So what is going on here?
As you say, let's back it up a bit. The original controversy was that allegations that the minister he'd formed this company with another person called Stephen Anderson, Global Health Imports, and that the allegation was that it was doing business while Boissonnault was in cabinet. And you're not supposed to do that, obviously, for obvious reasons. So that was the first thing. Then there's subsequently things, well, now Global Health Imports is being sued by a bunch of other people who say that they didn't fulfill their contracts for health products with them. And a lot of this information is coming out in the affidavits and evidence that's being prepared on those things. So then you've got that. Then you've got a separate controversy about global health, the principles of global health imports, including Mr. Boissonnault claiming indigenous status. And well, wait a minute, were they? And now Mr. Boissonnault says, well, he was a part of one First Nation, now he's part of another. And then we have finally his partner, Stephen Anderson, who came before the thing and testified when there was stuff that looked like it was damaging for Mr. Boissonnault. He went, oh no, that was another Randy. Like when I was doing all these texts, it wasn't to that Randy, it was another Randy. And now he subsequently said, well, no, I made that up. And so they finished with Anderson. They didn't even go back and say, like, well, wait a minute. You're like, didn't you just mislead the committee? No, there's so much stuff on top of this, but it had all died down. It had all died down because it was like, okay, Boissonnault says he's innocent. The ethics commissioners looked at it. He says he's not going to launch an investigation. He doesn't think the cabinet minister did anything wrong. So it was all dying down. And now you have this new stuff about more evidence in these ongoing civil cases that well, if Boissonnault wasn't involved with this thing, why is he constantly in the correspondence? So it's a huge mess. The worst that would come is that the ethics commissioner would, look at it and even if it's $200 fine or something, right? That's the most you can do.
Sorry.
But it is like water torture to this government. It just keeps dripping and dripping and dripping. And the thing is that every time Boissonnault or another cabinet minister or Trudeau accuses the Conservatives of being unethical, all they do is go, what about the two Randys?
Mm-hmm. That's right. Or Mary Ng, Brian, or Justin Trudeau himself. I mean,
Dominic LeBlanc.
Like there are so many issues, ethical issues circling around the Trudeau Liberal government, mostly cabinet ministers, that they all sort of blend into one. But what makes this particular one about Randy Boissonnault so maybe unique in this situation is that not only is he being called back for the third time to testify in front of committee. Again, as Lorrie says, it'll result in a fine if it goes anywhere at all. But this sort of claim on this GHI that they were 100% Indigenous owned, which opens up a whole new layer of potential funding or government contracts that one can get. For some time now, the Liberal cabinet has claimed, the Liberal government's claimed Randy Boissonnault as Indigenous, puts him on the board, the poster boards as the Indigenous caucus, even though he's never said he was. It's whole bizarre.
Yeah, so the thing about whether he's Indigenous or not, Boissonnault now claims, oh, I've never claimed that. I sat as part of the Liberal Indigenous caucus as an ally. Right. But there's also, he was his adoptive mother, so he was adopted. His adoptive mother has an indigenous ancestry. Apparently, at various times, it's been claimed as Métis, at other times Cree, so that adds more questions to it. So was it the partly Métis Randy or the partly Cree Randy? Which of the other Randys? Are there four Randys? It all gets very confusing. And the bottom line is you shouldn't be doing business with the government when you're sitting in cabinet. And we know from the text messages that was happening. So, Boissonnault is probably not going to be an MP again. He's from Edmonton, Northern Alberta, Redmonton, as they call it. The reason that he was doing business with the government was he lost in the 2019 election, won again in the 2021 election, and he was in this business in between, but then carried it on after the election. I don't think he'll be an MP whenever we get to the next election. So, this in some ways will be a blessing for him, because any ethics committee or ethics commissioner study of him will just eventually fade away because he'll be gone. But I think the public does deserve to know what was really going on. Just be open, be upfront. If you made a mistake, cop to it. People can be forgiving, but constantly having a new story just doesn't look good.
Well, that's part of the issue here, Lorrie, is it is the drip, drip, drip. It's the death by a thousand cuts. Coming back to committee and being questioned and grilled again by mostly Conservative members of Parliament who have done a very effective job thus far. Just again, it puts that stain back on the government yet again, when even though the government's business is basically ground to a halt, it doesn't let them talk about the things that they are doing. It puts the focus and the spotlight on yet another scandal. And though I don't think that most Canadians focus and hone in on one particular one, it's sort of this overall dark cloud that hangs over this government. So going to the committee this time around, what will be accomplished?
You see, I agree. This to me it's just part of that. Oh, here's another one.
Yes.
The bigger issue to me is, why does this keep happening?
Mm-hmm.
Why does this keep happening in this government? And to me, there's a simple reason. The standard for behavior in cabinet is not set by the federal conflict of interest. It's not set by the ethics commissioner. It's set by the prime minister. These are his appointees. He is the one who could fire them or hire them at will. What sort of standard did Justin Trudeau set for his cabinet ministers when he became prime minister? And he has twice been found under the Conflict of Interest Act to have violated, once in what's called the Agagon affair, accepting free vacations in the Caribbean, which he shouldn't have done, and the very serious one of the SNC-Lavalin scandal, where the evidence was, and the finding of the commissioner was, that Trudeau and his officials tried to pressure the Attorney General of Canada into granting a deferred prosecution agreement to SNC-Lavalin as opposed to charges. Oh my God, really? Mm-hmm. But to me, that's the root cause of this. It's that the prime minister, ethics are what you do when nobody's looking. That's what ethics are. And to be ethical, you don't need a commissioner to tell you what's ethical. You know what's ethical. Ethical people know that. People who have a conscience know that. And so when all these ministers, as Brian pointed out, there have been others who have also run afoul of this thing. When they see their prime minister doing what he did, to me, it was inevitable that this was going to happen. It's like, well, boss doesn't care. Why should I?
That's right. Brian, last word to you. What comes of this, if anything at all?
Just more fodder for social media for the Conservatives to continue to beat up on the Trudeau government. As Lorrie said, he's not going to get fired, not by Justin Trudeau. Remember, Trudeau gave an interview to CBC. He sat in the Library of Parliament and he told CBC that the standard on sexual impropriety, on things like groping, applied to everyone. And he was asked, does that include you? Absolutely. And a few weeks later, the whole groping story comes out. What did he do? He turned around and said, well, she experienced it differently. So apparently, everybody experiences something differently when Justin Trudeau does something wrong, because Justin Trudeau can do no wrong. And as Lorrie said, that sets the tone. Or to use the old saying, the fish rots from the head. this is the fish rotting from the head, and we've got a rotten government in place. So all that will happen is the Conservatives are going to get more social media fodder. They've used it effectively for months now on the Randy and the other Randy and the Green Slush Fund and on, and it's just going to keep dripping down on this government until they drown.
Well, let us know what you think in the comments below. Like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and go to the TorontoSun.com. You'll find commentary and coverage there you will not find anywhere else.